I will start with 3 questions and 3 answers. After that, I would like to share the practical Vipassana meditational exercises given by Venerable Mahasi Sayadaw. Number 1 question. Venerable Mahasi Sayadaw, why do you instruct yogis to start their practice with noting, rising and falling? It will take time to develop concentration if you note an object too varied or too subtle, while it can be aroused faster if you observe an obvious and limited object. That is why we instruct yogis to start their practice with watching the abdomen characterized by stiffness, pressure, vibration, which are manifestations of Vayo Dhatu, the air element. This is from the book named The Discourse on Dhammacakka by Venerable Mahasi Sayadaw. Number 2 question. Venerable Mahasi Sayadaw, are there only 2 objects to note, rising and falling? Yes. One is instructed to note initially only 2 objects, rising and falling. He is, however, instructed to note thinkings also, if they occur to him, and then go back to the main object. Similarly, with pain, he should go back to the main object when the pain fades away, or after a moderate amount of time, even if the pain persists. The same is true with bending or stretching his limbs or changing his posture. He should note each and every activity or behavior involved in it, and then go back to the main object. If one sees or hears something prominent, one must note it as it is. That is, seeing, hearing, and so on. After noting them 3 or 4 times, one must go back to the main object with full energy. This is from the book named The Discourse on Dhammacakka by Venerable Mahasi Sayadaw. Number 3 question. Venerable Mahasi, is it possible to bring about insight knowledge by observing the objects like going or right step, left step, which are known in common sense to everybody? You know the Anapana practice, the observation of in and out breath. The object inhalation or exhalation seems not to be observed, as it is known by common sense to everyone. But no one dare to criticize like that. In the same way, it makes no sense if you criticize thinking that mindfulness, concentration, in insight knowledge cannot be developed by noting right, left, as in military training. The military training is taken for the purpose of discipline, sport, or health, but noting of the steps is used to develop mindfulness, concentration, in insight knowledge. If you reject this part of the practice, it means you are rejecting the teaching of the Buddha. This is from the book named The Discourse on Dhamma Sutta by Venerable Mahasi. The beginner yogis also should know the practical vipassana meditational exercises. The practical vipassana meditational exercises of the Venerable Mahasi are as follows. Vipassana insight meditation is practiced to understand correctly the nature of the psycho-physical phenomena that take place in one's own body. Physical phenomena are all we tangibly perceive around us. The whole tangible body represents physical compound or physical phenomena, rupa. Mental phenomena, nama, are the mind that perceives of God. These psycho-physical phenomena, nama, rupa, are manifested to us whenever we see. So, in order to understand them correctly, we have to note that seeing whenever we see. To note here means to observe them carefully and concurrently so that we can understand them correctly. In the same way, we should note as hearing whenever we hear, smelling whenever we smell, tasting whenever we taste, touching whenever we touch, and thinking whenever we think of. But in the beginning of one's practice, one cannot make a note of every one of them. One should therefore begin with noting the most prominent and easily perceivable phenomena among others. With every act of breathing, the abdomen rises and falls, whose movement is always evident and represents the material phenomenon known as the air element Vayo Dhatu. One should begin one's practice by noting this movement mentally. You will find the abdomen rising when you breathe in and falling when you breathe out. The rising should be noted mentally as rising and the falling as falling. If the movement is not evident, by just noting it mentally, keep touching the abdomen with the palm of your hand. Do not alter the manner of your breathing, neither slow it down nor make it faster. Do not breathe too vigorously either. You will get tired if you change the manner of your breathing. Breathe steadily as usual and note the rising and falling of the abdomen as they occur. Note it mentally, not verbally. In Vipassana meditation, what you name or say doesn't matter. What really matters is to know or perceive. So it is not enough or complete just by mentally saying. While noting the rising of the abdomen, do so from the beginning to the end of the movement, just as if you were seeing it with your eyes. Do the same with the falling movement. Note the rising movement in such a way that your awareness of it is concurrent with the movement itself. The movement and the awareness of it should be concurrent in the same way as a stone thrown hits the target, and similarly with the falling movement. Your mind may wander elsewhere while you are noting the abdominal movement. This must also be noted by mentally saying, wandering, wandering. When this has been noted once or twice, the mind stops wandering, in which case you go back to noting the rising and falling of the abdomen. If the mind reaches somewhere, note as reaching, and then go back to the rising and falling of the abdomen. If you imagine meeting somebody, note as meeting, then back to the rising and falling. If you imagine meeting and talking to somebody, note as talking. In short, whatever thought or reflection occurs should be noted. If you imagine, note as imagining. If you think, thinking. If you plan, planning. If you perceive, perceiving. If you reflect, reflecting. If you feel happy, happy. If you feel bored. If you feel glad. If you feel disheartened. Noting all these acts of consciousness is called the observation of consciousness, citta nupassana. Because we fail to know these acts of consciousness, we tend to identify them with a person or individual. We tend to think that it is I who is imagining, thinking, planning, knowing, or perceiving. We think that there is a person who, from childhood onwards, has been living and thinking. Actually, no such person exists. There are instead only these continuing successive acts of consciousness. That is why we have to know these acts of consciousness whenever manifested, so that we can realize them as they really are. When they are noted concurrently, they will disappear. We then go back to noting the rising and falling of the abdomen. When you have sat meditating for long, sensations of stiffness and heat will arise in your body. These are to be noted carefully too. And similarly with sensations of pain, and tiredness. All of these sensations are called unpleasant feeling, dukkha, vedana. And noting them is called the observation of feeling, vedana, nupassana. Failure to note these sensations makes you think, I am stiff, I am feeling hot, I am in pain, I was alright a moment ago, now I am uneasy with these unpleasant sensations. Thus, people think the same, I have been experiencing different sensations throughout their lives. Actually, it is only a succession of one new unpleasant sensation after another. It is just like a continuous succession of new electrical impulses that light up electric lamps. Every time unpleasant contacts are encountered in the body, unpleasant sensations arise one after another. These sensations should be carefully and intently noted, whether they are sensations of stiffness or heat or of pain. In the beginning of the yogi's meditational practice, these sensations may tend to increase and lead to a desire to change its posture. This desire should be noted, after which the yogi should go back to noting the sensations of stiffness, heat, etc. Patience leads to nirvana, as the saying goes. This saying is most relevant to meditation practice. One must be patient in meditation. If one shifts or changes one's posture too often, because one cannot be patient with the sensation of stiffness or heat, then good concentration cannot develop. If the concentration cannot develop, insight cannot result, and there can be no attainment of Magga, the path that leads to Nirvana, Phala, the fruit of that path in Nirvana. That is why patience is needed in meditation. It is patience mostly with unpleasant sensations in the body, like stiffness, sensations of heat and pain, and other sensations that are hard to bear. One should not immediately give up one's meditation. On the appearance of such unpleasant sensations, and change one's meditational posture. One should go on patiently, just noting a stiffness or hot. Moderate sensations of these kinds will disappear if one goes on noting them patiently. When concentration is good and strong, even intense sensations tend to disappear. One then reverts to noting the rising and falling of the abdomen. One will, of course, have to change one's posture if the sensations do not disappear, even after one has noted them for a long time, or if they become unbearable. One should then begin noting as wishing to change. If the arm rises, note as rising. If it moves, note as moving. This change should be made gently and noted as rising, moving, and touching. If the body sways, note as swaying. If the foot rises, rising. If it moves, note as moving. If it drops, note as dropping. If there is no change, but only static rest, go back to noting the rising and falling of the abdomen. There must be no intermission in between, only contiguity between preceding act of noting and succeeding one, between a preceding state of concentration and succeeding one, between a preceding moment of insight and a succeeding one. Only then there will be successive and ascending stages of maturity in the yogi's state of insight. The knowledge of path and fruition, Magga Phala Jnana, can be attained only when there is this kind of gathering momentum. The meditative process is like that of producing fire by energetically and unremittingly rubbing two sticks of wood together so as to attain the necessary intensity of heat for the flame to arise. In the same way, the noting in vipassana meditation should be continuous in unremitting, without any resting interval between acts of noting whatever phenomena may arise. For instance, if a sensation of itchiness intervenes and the yogi desires to scratch because it is hard to bear, both the sensation and the desire to get rid of it should be noted without immediately getting rid of the sensation by scratching. The time is up, enough for today.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.